I'm holding the soft Arkansas stone right now. And as you can see, there is no light shining through. And here is the hard. And again, we see no lighting shining through. Here is the black hard. This is the black hard. You can see there is virtually no reflection. And we see no light anywhere. So the light is completely blocked by the stone. Here is the translucent, and it's a white. And you can see here that there is light. See, this is the light, and here's a stone in front of the light. So pretty cool. This is a translucent stone, as you can see. So lots of things to say about these stones. Let's start with the soft. We'll go from soft to hard or to the translucent. And I think these are the least dense that they come in. And that's very interesting because in terms of actual sharpening experience, I think these are very close to a 1000 to a 1500 grit whetstone. It wasn't very fast. So in terms of developing a burr, I think I took 5 passes on the first side and then 2 or 3 passes on the second side. It is considered soft by natural whetstone standards, but still very dense. What's happening during the sharpening was I was noticing that you would hear these, these little snaps and these pops. What's probably happening is you're actually grinding down, different sediments on the stone, which makes it very interesting, and it makes it kind of fun too, kind of exciting when you're doing that. I don't think the soft stone requires flattening for a long time, and the reason I can say that is because during sharpening, there was no slur coming off of the stone at all. I can see maybe like the minimal amount of slur coming off. Mostly I think it's from the knife. The hard Arkansas is something I really like. When I first started sharpening it, it was kind of strange because I felt like I was sharpening on a really high grade synthetic whetstone. But after my second pass, it is harder than the soft, but I felt like it gave me better feedback and it gave me better tactile feel. There's a special connection you get with these stones, and I don't want to sound so esoteric, but sharpening on natural whetstones really do feel different, and you get to appreciate the stone a lot more than sharpening on a synthetic whetstone. It was all about how the stone felt, and to me, that is very meditative, very therapeutic, if I can say so. The black. I think this stone here is my favorite stone in today's session, at least. It really changed my opinions walking into this sharpening today. I thought these stones were going to be very slow, which they are not very fast, but they aren't very slow. They're just a little bit slower than what I'm used to. But the feedback you get from these things are unmatched, at least with any of the stones I have used so far. And this stone here, normally when you hop on the stone, you're not gonna be doing push and pulls on it. I did it just because I wanted to see how it felt. And I'm glad I did, because I'm able to better understand the stone when I sharpen how I normally sharpen. I really think that this is a stone that if you're gonna get into an Arkansas stone, this would be a stone you should at least consider. It won't replace a high polishing whetstone on the Japanese side. I don't think this is more than a 5,000 grit polish, maybe 6,000 grit polish. You're not seeing any sort of mirror polish on these stones, which is interesting because using Japanese synthetics, as soon as you hit the 5,000 grit mark, they're adding polishing agents, right? And so you're seeing mirror polishes by the time you hit a 5,000 grit stone, like a Sharpening 5000. It's a very low mirror polish, but still a mirror polish. I didn't see that on the hard black. Even though this is considered a polishing stone, the feedback is still very immediate, and it lets you know exactly what's happening on the knife and the stone. And I personally really enjoy that. To me, speed is kind of secondary with sharpening. It's all about feedback and tactile feel. Those things are the most important with sharpening stones, and these stones offer all of those things with the exception of speed. When you pick this up, you think it's a synthetic stone because it is pure black, and it's hard to believe that this is a natural whetstone, but it is, and I'm really happy to have it here. But yeah, I mean, this thing here, it is perfectly smooth, perfectly flat. And so with this stone here, most of the time, if you're sharpening on any of the higher, let's say the higher grit or the higher density stones, you're going to be doing single pulls on these stones. You're not going to be doing push and pulls. So you're going to be doing single stroke pulls. And because of that, I can confidently say that these stones will most likely not require flattening at all for many years. I'm guessing at least 4 or 5 years of sharpening. Translucent is next. And so the translucent stone is very interesting. I found that this stone here felt very similar to the black hard. And these are probably harder to find. They come in smaller sizes. I didn't feel like the sensation was different enough for me to really tell the difference between two stones. And so, yeah, I mean, so again, that's just speaking from an amateur standpoint at this point. I am a very amateur user when it comes to these stones here. These stones are very immediate in terms of their feedback. They will tell you exactly what's happening. So there's a pro and con to that. The pro is that they allow you to make micro adjustments as you're sharpening, and they tell you everything that's happening. They will let you know what's wrong with your technique, which is a good thing if you're getting into hand sharpening. The bad thing is that their feedback is too immediate in some cases, and that it can really intimidate a person who's getting into sharpening. It can basically not allow you any sort of grace for mistakes. And with a synthetic stone, a softer stone, let's say a King 1000 or even a Serax 1000, even though the feedback is very good, they still allow you room to make mistakes and room for error. The good thing is that they aren't very fast, and so even though you will know that you're making a mistake, you will have time to make micro adjustments to your strokes. Do I recommend these for people getting into hand sharpening? Certainly, yes, they are fantastic. They are really nice. For a sharpening whetstone, if you want to spend $20, $30 on a sharpening whetstone, I think this would be very nice to have if you were just buying your very first stone. If you already have a lower grit level stone, a 500 or 1000 grit synthetic stone, I would say keep that and just keep sharpening on that, because this will, even though it does feel better than a cheaper budget 1000 grit whetstone, it may frustrate you in terms of its overall speed. But that's the only thing negative about this stone. If you have a 1000 grit whetstone and you want to kind of up your polishing level, and you're looking into either a $50 or $60 Japanese whetstone, this may be a consideration, because it does offer you a slightly higher polish and definitely a cleaner edge than a 1000 grit whetstone. But the sharpening, the tactile feedback, and the hand feel is amazing on this stone. So I really like this stone here. Definitely a stone that I would recommend if you didn't have a high grit sharpening stone or a low grit polishing stone. If you already had one, I would say you can skip it and then look at the black hard, because the black hard is the stone that to me, of today's session, is my favorite stone. It's not the fastest cutting. I've never felt a polishing stone offer the same sensation as this stone here. And that's part of why I really like it, because most polishing stones that I use are very dull, they're very muted, they're quiet, the feedback is not very immediate. You normally find that in your sharpening stone. So to have that, to have the feedback, to have this relative speed, but have the immediate feedback that this gives you as a polishing stone, that's what really speaks to me as a hand sharpener. And so that's why, even though I like these stones here, I don't find them to be essential to me because I have so many good sharpening stones already, but I have very few polishing stones that give me that feedback that I'm looking for. And this definitely is that stone. And in terms of load up, you can see that from the hard up to the translucent, there is virtually no load up at all. There is some load up on the soft, very minimal though. I don't think that'll be a problem in the long run. In terms of grits, I don't think these are very high. I think even at the black level, you're looking at 5,000-6,000 grit. At the translucent, I'm guessing it's about 8,000 grit stone. I don't think it's anything higher than that. It might be, but again, there's no real way to tell you objectively what that grit rating is. If you hopped on a Sharpening Glass 8,000 or a Trocera 10,000, those stones give you a mirror polish. You're not seeing that with this stone here, even though I did the push and pull on this stone. So in terms of raw speed, they will suffer relative to a good quality Japanese whetstone, synthetic whetstone. But in terms of feedback, they are better than the best synthetic whetstones I can find that I have. In terms of lubrication, you can use water. I've heard people using water or soapy water. I used the honing oil because that's what the instructions said. And people don't like using honing oil because it can get messy. It's not messy. You guys just add a few drops. It can get messy when you add a lot of oil and you're splashing oil everywhere, but you can see today I just had a silicone mat and the silicone mat barely had any oil on it. So as long as you're using just 3 or 4 drops of oil on the stone and only applying when you need it, it's not a messy job. So yeah, even though you can use water on these, I'll try with water on the other side and see how I feel, but I think honing oil with these stones are probably gonna be the best way to go. The surface on these stones are even flatter and straighter than my best synthetics. But I got these from sharpeningsupplies.com. I think they have the largest selection of these stones and certainly the best selection of these natural whetstones. So if you guys want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the video description. I'll also leave a link to the video description to the exact stones that I'm using here. That way you guys aren't confused when you guys are on the website. For me, this is a really good way to jump into the natural whetstone world without spending a lot of money. If you guys want to see more sharpenings of these stones with different knives, I have knives heat treated from a 55 all the way up to a 66. So if you guys want to see different knives sharpened on these stones, let me know which knives you want to see. And if you guys want to see these stones go head to head against other synthetic whetstones or other naturals that I have, let me know as well. I have an app that I've been developing for the last, I would say the greater part of 2018. And the main goal of this app, it's going to allow people like stay-at-home moms and dads, or people who just like to cook on their part-time, on the weekends, and they want to make a few extra portions of what they're really good at and sell it to the community around them. And so this is not a get-rich scheme app. This is not for you to sell something across the world, although that could happen. And so what's really cool about this app is that it connects you to those in your community through food. I need 100 of you guys to beta test this app. And so what we'll do is I will leave a link in the video description to a mailing list, an email list. And so there will be no spam, I guarantee you. This list goes directly to me, and it's only for me to communicate about when you can download the app. And that's really about it. But yes, that is something that I am very excited about. I look forward to catching up with you guys there, and I will catch you in the next video.